Football Tailgate Week 14 Rivalry Week Preview. I'm Dan Watkins. John McKechnie is here with me as always. John, I don't even need to do like some weird preamble to start the show this week because we have so much to get to, so much on the table. I can't wait to break it all down with you, man. I mean, what a season we've had, and it is just going to culminate in just this epic like 3-day stretch here this weekend coming up.
This sets up as like one of the best rivalry weekends in recent memory. Like, there's so many puzzle pieces that still need to officially kind of get put together. A lot of chances for teams that have had disappointing seasons to kind of right their wrongs in the span of 3.5 hours this weekend. You know, looking at like Mystique or Texas on Friday, both of them can really play spoiler. I guess Georgia Tech to an extent against UGA. Auburn has had the season from hell, but they beat Alabama. All's well that ends well. So there's so much on the line here this weekend, and I mean, we gotta go. We gotta unpack this thing.
Yeah, absolutely. So obviously we're going to do game breakdowns of some of the biggest games. We're going to hit on some other games as well, kind of do like a hurry-up offense thing, I think, coming up here in a little bit. But we will talk about Ohio State and Michigan, as I don't know if you've heard out there, but Ohio State has not beaten Michigan on a football field this decade. So there's that thing going on there. We got the Iron Bowl in Jordan-Hare at night. We got to talk about that one. Texas A&M in Texas. We don't even have to wait until Saturday for that game. That's a Friday night kickoff too as well. And then we have plenty of other games to talk about, John. But before we get to that, I do just want to say thank you very much to those of you who are watching or listening. Make sure you're subscribed. Hit that subscribe button. College Football Tailgate, YouTube, Spotify, Apple Podcasts, wherever you get your podcasts. We are on those platforms. Just hit that subscribe button. It's free. It doesn't cost you anything. We're not going to email spam you. We would never ask you for money. We just want you to subscribe because it helps us as we continue to build this show. Find us on Twitter at CFB Tailgate 25 or head over to TikTok and have some fun in the comments there at CFB Tailgate.
No more Sooners allowed.
No more Sooners allowed. All right, fair enough. Yeah, they've replaced the it's like BYU fans have handed the pitchforks to the Sooner fans, and I mean, deservedly so. I did call them Iowa this week, but anyways, I stand by that. I think that's going to bear out as we get into the playoff. I do fully expect Oklahoma to be there, and then we'll see if they can somehow find an offense during those bye weeks. But anyways, that's for another time. Let's talk about what happened with the College Football Playoff Committee on Tuesday night, John. Not a ton of movement. We saw a little bit of shuffling there. Like we see Oregon jump ahead of Ole Miss, who was on the bye. Miami moves ahead of Utah like we were expecting when we talked on Monday. Michigan creeping up into the top 15, I think, is a little interesting here as it sets the stage for this big game, the game, on Saturday. But any takeaways for you from what the committee did on Tuesday night?
Right, so I guess Miami, the kind of general consensus is they're the de facto ACC champion placeholder, but they have a really tricky path to get to the ACC championship to begin with. So I'm kind of wondering why it's not Virginia right there, but by that same token, you know, Miami is the better team. I think we can agree on that one. So they're at 12, and I think it's interesting also that there's been a lot of discussion about the discussions, right? Like which teams are being talked about at the same time. I think theoretically, Miami and Notre Dame were talked about at the same time this past week, and they still kept Notre Dame at 9. So I feel like you guys do your thing this weekend, and I think the stress levels should kind of dissipate there. And then I am wondering, and I tweeted this out last week, early in the week, and it seems like there might be some credence to it. We'll see. But the committee, so they move Ole Miss down, right? They move them one spot down. I think it makes sense because they were off last week and Oregon, had a nice ranked win. But like, is the committee positioning themselves if Ole Miss is to lose this week and Lane leaves on Saturday? Did they just give him the Jordan Travis treatment from Florida State a couple years ago? Is that a possibility? And then I saw some sort of rhetorical positioning from the committee where it's like, well, we had the data point of what Florida State looked like after Jordan Travis. We wouldn't know what Ole Miss would look like sans Lane Kiffin. So I don't know. It just feels like the committee. If I'm an Ole Miss fan, I'm feeling real uneasy right now, not only with my coach, but like, the double whammy potential of Ole Miss losing this weekend and Lane Kiffin leaving, and then the season all for naught. You either get stuck with the lower seed, have to go on the road in the first round, or get left out entirely if things really break wrong.
Yeah, no, I absolutely think that's a thing, and I think that's in the back of the committee's head, in the back of their minds right now, too. I mean, the simplest solution for Ole Miss is to just win the Egg Bowl on Friday, and then I think even if, like, Lane makes an announcement on Saturday that he's going to LSU or Florida or whatever, well, you're still 11-1. I don't think they're going to dock them that way, but yeah, I do think they're kind of, like, installing that trap door to, pull that rope out of the treehouse or whatever for Ole Miss to fall out of the party if they were to lose. I mean, even if they lose and Lane stays, Ole Miss is no guarantee to get into the playoff. They just got to take care of their business. We will talk about that game. There's so many of these games this week, John, when you look at the paper, that it's just like, okay, that's a mismatch. Like, that's a mismatch. They should be able to, team A should be able to exploit team B and so on and whatever. But just comes back to it's rivalry week. These games get weirder than pretty much any other game that we see throughout the season, and it's why they play the game on the field too, because you can't just play these games on paper. But yeah, Ole Miss, just take care of business and win on Saturday. And then the other thing too, like North Texas, their coach, he's going to Oklahoma State next year. He is going to coach out the rest of the season with North Texas. North Texas is, I believe, still the favorite when it comes to the sports books to be the G5 representative. I think they're minus 145 on DraftKings as of Wednesday morning. But yeah, some interesting things with the G5 too. I believe the top ranked G5 team that they have right now is Tulane at 24. So we'll see what happens there. The G5 still a lot to be determined, but we'll see.
Yeah, and I mean, I feel like Tulane could also have a bit of a a coaching thing happen to them. Summerall is a very hot name among those like kind of second tier type of guys. I wonder if like Auburn has already kind of like got things lined up as far as that goes. I know that like the Florida interview fell through, but I do like that hire a lot for OK State. I feel like it's been a little bit wonky these last couple of years where they haven't been able to throw the ball, and I miss the days of OK State just throwing it 50 plus times a game. I miss that they were like the brand of just Big 12 nonsense. So I hope they get back to that.
Yeah, I mean, it was like that forever, and then all of a sudden you get the Jalen Warrens and the Ollie Gordons and those guys, and they become this running team, and then all of a sudden Mike Gundy just runs out of gas, and now they're looking for a new head coach. They have found their guy. North Texas, definitely something to monitor with them is how focused and how focused does he keep his team down the stretch there. Maybe that opens the door for someone else to creep in as that G5 rep in the college football playoff. We will talk plenty about the playoff next week and the weeks to come here once we have a more concrete picture. But let's start talking about some of these games here, week 14 and rivalry week. And there is no bigger game than the game. Ohio State at Michigan in Ann Arbor. John, it looks like the kickoff temp's going to be in the 20s at this one. Maybe we get a little snow. It's a noon kick. It's going to be just gorgeous on your television screen if you are not at this game at the Big House. But Ohio State is favored by 10 or 10.5, depending on the sports book that you're looking at. The total here is sitting at 44.5. They haven't beaten Michigan on the football field since 2019. I have heard some Ohio State homers and alumni saying, well, actually, it's since 2020 because they forfeited and didn't want to play us during COVID. Get the hell out of here with that. You have not beaten them since 2019. I could give you so many numbers and just like give you a popsicle headache, John, about like the stat profiles and all of that. But with this game, does it even matter? Can Ohio State, are they going to slay the dragon? And can Ryan Day get that monkey off his back? He is 1-4 against Michigan. Like, Ohio State has the best defense in the country. They should frustrate the true freshman in Bryce Underwood, who also doesn't have Justice Haynes this week either. Like, I don't know. But once again, I'm sitting here. I have taken Ohio State. I have bet Ohio State 3 straight years in this game since gambling was legalized. And I've come up empty-handed every time. Like I don't know how to cap this game. Let's just put it that way.
And all year, I kind of thought that this was going to be the great bloodletting for Ohio State against Michigan. I just think that regardless of what happens this weekend, I still think Ohio State is the best team in the country. I think, once we get to neutral sites and in the college football playoff, like, they will prove as such. But the weather is kind of giving me some pause about whether this game can actually be competitive, because there's going to be some conditions there in Ann Arbor, and saying, little California kid, we'll see how he handles this. I mean, Bryce Underwood's from the South himself, so I mean, maybe it's a wash.
Maybe
but
it's a wash.
I do wonder. We've talked about, just kind of briefly, when it comes to Ohio State, like, if there is a weakness on this team, it is the run game. They got it going last week with the freshman Bo Jackson running well against Rutgers. But if the passing game is limited, A, because of the conditions, and B, because, say, Jeremiah Smith and Carnell Tate are limited, not at their full speed there, what does Ohio State do to kind of pivot? Because we saw last year, even when they had the great run game of Trey Henderson and Quinshon Judkins, they overdid it on the run game, and it ended up costing them. So they need to stick to what has kind of gotten them there. And Saban's going to need to perform in those elements. But ultimately, big preamble to say, I still think Ohio State gets this done. I do think that they cover the spread. I think, it's come down. It's made it interesting. It's given me a second thought here, too. But I do think ultimately Ohio State proves its quality is still just a cut above Michigan here. I know that the recent history says otherwise, but give me the Buckeyes here.
Yeah, I'm leaning towards Ohio State. I'm not betting on this game whatsoever. But, like, what I want to see from Ryan Day here is for him. I felt like he and Chip Kelly called that game last year a little too stubbornly, where it's like they kind of, like, read that, like, all the press clippings going into the game that, like, oh, well, they can't or Michigan's just going to out-physical them. Like, they can't compete with Michigan in, like, the physical battle and all that kind of stuff. So they just kind of went into that game and just, like, ran into a brick wall, like, over and over and over again, where if those two wide receivers are healthy here, I think even with the weather, that Ohio State should be able to take advantage of Michigan in the air. Michigan has played, I think, one top 30 passing offense this season. Smith and Tate are both expected to be a go here. They both sat out that game against Rutgers last week. So it's like you were saying, do what you do and rely on what got you here. But at the same time, though, like, I'm just wondering, like, how big is that mental hurdle going to be for Ohio State? Like, if they come out and they go 3-and-out, and Michigan gets some points here or something like that, does that, like, start to creep in and we see them tighten up? Like, there's just so many different dynamics to this game, and it's just like it just leads me to the question, like, look, at Ohio State's getting into the playoff no matter what happens. Michigan can beat them 100-0 on Saturday. Ohio State's going to the playoff. But how badly do they need this win? Like, it's such a question where it's just like, okay, they could go on and win the national championship again, but once again they lose to Michigan. Like, how badly? I mean, you can almost argue, like, Michigan needs this game to get into the playoff. Like, they need to win and all that. But you can still make the argument that Ohio State needs this win more.
You look at Buckeye Twitter, or if you've had the pleasure of knowing some of them, they are crazy about this game in a way that no other fan base I've really come across is, to where they win the national championship last year and they still feel like they had meat left on the bone. It
Right.
still feels like that there's something missing because they lost the game to Michigan. And I think that there's, like, kind of like the gravitational pull of that being, 4 straight for Michigan in this series. So that's, doubly frustrating. You even the score as far as national championships in back-to-back years, but Michigan has beaten Ohio State twice in a row. And then my last kind of question about this Ohio State team is, again, for the most part this year, like, other than Texas in hindsight, they really haven't been tested much. Mm-hmm. We haven't really seen them have to battle through much in the way of adversity. I think that adversity will be part of the game here in this one, so we're going to get a glimpse of how they handled it. I think it will make them better in the long run to have some struggles in this game. I mean, we certainly saw that last year when they get punched in the mouth against Michigan, and then they just absolutely blow through the first 3 rounds of the college football playoff. So I'm interested to see how Ohio State and Julian Sayin handle those type of conditions there. But again, ultimately, I think the Buckeyes are going to be able to do this. I just don't see quite enough on the Michigan side of things. But the committee did move them up, and if there's some permutations where Michigan can actually still get into the Big Ten championship, it's going to take some carnage from either Oregon or Indiana or both potentially for them to get there. But there is that chance there. So Michigan's coming full speed here. But again, give me Ohio State.
Yeah, Michigan's quietly won 5 in a row heading into this game since that just when they got bullied, to quote Colin Cowherd out there out in the Coliseum in Southern California when USC beat them. One of the things that does help Michigan in this game is that their offensive line, John, is elite. They're 8th in the country when it comes to pressure rate allowed. Could help them buy a little more time for their freshman quarterback here in Bryce Underwood. A couple of the other stat notes I think that are important for this one. Michigan is 109th in the country in red zone offense, scoring on just 78% of their trips down there. Ohio State naturally has the number 1 ranked red zone defense, allowing opponents to score just 60% of the time that they get into the red zone.
Does that mean that they've allowed 10 red zone trips the whole year?
It could be. It very well could be, or maybe 20. That's just insane to think about. That's how good they've been. And as you mentioned, since week 1, that 14-7 win against Texas, the tightest margin of victory for Ohio State since then is 18 points. And that was at Illinois and at Washington, so both games on the road there. I'm taking Ohio State. Don't feel good about it, which is just so wild to say, but that's just how things have been in this game here, and I've been burned time and time again. I'm not going to be burned again this week. So I've how you can set your restrictions and all that and limitations on sports books and all that kind of stuff. I wish it could just give me for one game, right? Not the whole account, just for one game. This game, do not let me bet this. Do not let me bet this. I am not betting this game. But what do the metrics say for this one?
And I used to have a bit like that about during the Dana Holgerson years at Houston. Never let me bet Houston in a bowl game. I had like a shock collar that would trigger in mid-December every year. The metrics have it as Ohio State covering. SP Plus has Ohio State winning 30-17. FEI has this one Ohio State 29-16. Again, like you said, there's been some line movement, 12.5 down to 10. Total kind of remained pretty stable here, and then again, there's some weather factor here as well that again has not impacted the total, but things are impacting the spread just a little bit. I'm sure it's more monetary than weather related, but that's where we're at.
Yeah, we didn't really talk much about the total there. 44.5. I know both those models are leaning over there, but I feel like if there was a play in this game, I'd lean towards the under. I feel like both these teams are going to try to run the football, even with what we just said about Ohio State having that good passing attack. You got a little bit of weather here too, bleed some clock. That just feels – it's how that game feels to me coming into it.
And I'm not great at the in-game stuff, but – I could see both of them coming out tight, so maybe you're looking at a first half under as well. Maybe things loosen up a little bit in the second half. It's a gettable number at the 43 and the way these teams have played but against each other. But I think we don't see offensive fireworks. If we do, Michigan is in deep trouble.
Yeah, I would agree with that. All right, moving on. Let's talk about the Iron Bowl here. It's a Saturday night kickoff. Alabama at Auburn in Georgia, at Jordan-Hare Stadium. There we go. We've talked a lot about how, Jordan-Hare is this nightmare spot for Alabama and all that kind of stuff. Bama's actually won 5 straight Iron Bowls, John. Now, they're 2-2 the last 4 times these two teams have played at Auburn, and those 2 wins have come by 3 points or less. It's an interesting matchup here because, well, it's the Iron Bowl for one, and 2, what are we going to see from Alabama? Can this Auburn pass rush do something close to what Oklahoma did to them a few weeks ago? A few little fun notes and nuggets here heading into this one, and I'll let you take it away. This is the 7th straight Iron Bowl with a different coaching matchup. We got DJ Durkin as the head coach at Auburn, who very well, this could be his audition. If they beat Alabama Saturday night, DJ Durkin might be named head coach Sunday morning.
He might be named God King of Montgomery.
That too, which I don't know which is better. Either head coach, head coach at Auburn or God King of a county, one or the other. The Iron Bowl at night, as I mentioned, 7:30 Eastern kick, 6:30 kick Central Time. Auburn is 4-1 in such matchups when the Iron Bowl is played at night. That's according to Saturday Down South. But I also see that Alabama Reddit is taking this and spin zone, that both their losses this season were at 2:30 Central kick. So this is actually a good thing that this game is being played later on. Auburn's passing defense ranks 98th in the country. They are 98th against the pass. Alabama, we know what they want to do. They are a top 10 passing offense. You would think this sets up really nicely for Alabama and Ty Simpson, Ryan Grubb to call a big-time game, get those receivers going. But how do you feel heading into this one here? Does Auburn have a shot? And the line here I haven't even mentioned yet is sitting at 5.5.
So it did take a Herculean effort from Oklahoma defensively and creating some turnovers to get it done. But when we were talking about that game before it started, we talked about how where Oklahoma's weaknesses are on defense is the places that Alabama can exploit. And I think we learned a valuable lesson from that one, where Alabama is so one note on offense. It's a great note. Of course, Ty Simpson and that passing game are electric when everything is going. But if Auburn, and DJ Durkin is a very good defensive coach. I'm not a huge fan of his. I don't think anybody is, but really good defensive coach. I'll throw the Vandy game out the window just a little bit there. I do think Auburn, just knowing that Alabama isn't going to be able to run the ball, you can drop that extra defender and cause some different looks. I don't think that Durkin is the same level of defensive genius that Brent Venables is, but I see something similar to that as far as this Auburn game plan is concerned. They're going to need to generate some more pressure with those lighter fronts, which is a difficult thing to do against this Alabama offensive line, but ultimately, I do think in terms of the numbers game, like there could be just enough bodies to kind of clog up this Alabama passing attack once again, and we see something similar, not the same, but similar as far as like the Oklahoma matchup against Alabama is concerned. The big kind of giant question mark is what the hell is Auburn's offense? Because it's kind of
what are they doing at quarterback? What are they doing at quarterback?
I think they want to keep that cloak and dagger just as close to the vest as they can. I would not be surprised if they mix in two quarterbacks in this one between Deuce and the other guy. So
Ashton Daniels is starting.
That's right.
So Durkin said that this week. I get him and Aiden
Childs mixed up. I really shouldn't. But yeah, I think that Auburn we've seen Cam Coleman get unleashed here a little bit now that they have an actual passing game. At least we think. I still like Eric Singleton a lot. So I think the pressure's on Alabama in a big way here. They're going to need to respond. It's going to be an absolutely bonkers environment there. I don't know if Auburn actually pulls the upset, but it would not shock me if they're leading at halftime.
So I wanted to bring that up. So Alabama is 2-2 in the last 4 Iron Bowls that have been played at Jordan-Hare, and those 2 wins have come by a field goal or less. They had the 2-point win a few years ago. I'm wondering, are we just putting too much stock into the history here when it comes to this matchup? Because if you look at how these two teams measure up against each other, Auburn has really struggled in matchups against top 25 scoring defenses, like Alabama is, according to Outlier. The Tigers are 0-5 straight up and against the spread. The under is also 5-0 in those games. In the last 5 times they have played a top 25 scoring defense. We know Alabama has an elite passing offense that sets up really nicely against the Auburn passing defense that ranks close to 100th in the country. Auburn's just 1-6 in SEC play this season. Their one win was against Arkansas, and everybody beats Arkansas, even though Arkansas can put points on you. If Alabama is focused and locked in here, this game should not be close.
It shouldn't be, and living down here, I tend to agree with you that sometimes the mystique of Jordan-Hare gets a little bit overplayed, or the Iron Bowl being this total grab bag of a game where the better team is always going to be in for a rough day, almost no matter what. But I am kind of buying it this year. Going back to August, we were talking about Auburn, and I put it out there that I thought they were going to upset one of Georgia or Alabama. I can't stand by too many of my preseason predictions at this point, of course, but I do kind of stand by that one still. I've been impressed by the way that Auburn has responded since getting rid of Hugh Freeze. I think that they really give Alabama like a big test here. I still can't believe that Jalen Milroe game, and the Bryce Young game was also crazy back in 2021.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I said I wasn't going to take Auburn, but no, I'm gonna do it. I'm push and play on it. That's my upset special of the week. Give me Auburn.
Wow. Okay, I'm gonna take Alabama. I think Auburn keeps this close for a while, but I do think Alabama's eventually going to pull away, and they're going to hit that kill shot sometime in the second half, where then Auburn's going to get the ball, and you're just going to they can't make up 12 points here in 6 minutes or whatever it is down the stretch. So give me Bama to win and cover. Another game, though, that I want no part of betting just because that Mystique is hanging over this one. But what do the computers got for this one?
The computers, I think, are both comfortably on the Alabama side. Let me grab that quickly. We've got SP Plus actually has Bama only covering by half point, 27-21. FEI has it as more of a convincing win for Alabama, 27-18 is what they're projecting. But I'm going to side more on the SP Plus side of this one, and at the very least, I'm going to say that Auburn covers this one.
And they both got them pretty much right at that total, too. 46.5. SP Plus slightly over, FEI slightly under, so sitting right there as well with that 46.5 for a total. Going to be a fun one. Cannot wait to watch that on Saturday night. But we got a whole day of football on Friday, too. Most notably, the big-time matchup, the marquee matchup, is Texas A&M at Texas. This game's in Austin this year. Texas, the Longhorns, they are home underdogs, I believe. They're getting 2.5 points in this one. The total sitting at 51.5. This is a 7:30 Eastern kick on Friday. An Aggies win, John, would send them to Atlanta at 12-0. Texas, if they win here, they'd be 9-3, and they would have that big-time win against a top-5 opponent that they could show the committee, and Sark could say, hey, look who we've played this year. Look what we did at the end. We have rebounded. We are starting to surge again. You got so many different dynamics from Arch Manning has a chance to silence all of his doubters and pretty much completely rewrite how his season has gone and how we look back at the 2025 season for Arch Manning. But he's going against a defense that's second best in the country in both sacks and tackles for a loss. Texas O-line, we know, has not been great this season. They need to play their best game of the year Friday night to keep Arch clean. And then on the other side, you got Marcel Reed, who is still clinging to that Heisman race. He is fifth, I believe, in the odds as of this morning, Wednesday, when we're recording this. Texas pass defense, they're shaky. We saw down the stretch here, we have seen Arkansas throw for over 300 yards last week. Gunnar Stockton had one of the most efficient days of the season against Texas a few weeks ago. We saw Diego Pavia throw for over 360. Blake Shapen threw for over 380. This sets up for Marcel Reed to have a big game this one on Friday night. I think it sets up for Arch Manning to have a decent game too. A&M's been playing with fire a little bit down the stretch here, but how do you feel going into this matchup Friday night in Austin?
It's taken me all the way to the last week of the season, but I think I'm about ready to give Texas some cred here, and if they're able to do this, it's unfortunate for us because we're back to square one. How nauseating by the time that August got around last year was the Texas hype. If they win this game, they get left out of the playoff, but they're very loud about it. Bring back Sark, bring back Arch. A bunch of those receivers should still be there. They're preseason number one again, and all this stuff. So we have to hear it all again, despite the fact that they still lost 3 games, including one to Florida this year. So that's kind of in my mind's eye, or in my gut, kind of what I'm feeling right now. But A&M, I think they've played 4 one-score games. Obviously, they've won all of them, so they're kind of used to playing in those close games. But I do wonder. I think just statistically speaking, you play those close games, you're going to lose at least one of them eventually. I wonder if it is in this spot at Austin with everything on the line. I think that this might be the spot where A&M's luck, or I wouldn't call them lucky, but finally the break goes the other way in a one-score game for the Aggies, and I think Texas does it.
Yeah, I think a better way to put it is that Texas A&M is kind of just like they've been playing with fire a little bit, and they're due to get burned, I think, at some point here. And that could be Friday night in Austin. Like, think about some of the games they've played here down the stretch. You had the South Carolina game where they need that historic comeback to pull off the win there. You got the LSU game from a few weeks ago. Yes, they end up winning that game by over 20 points, but like that was a tight game at halftime. A&M needed that ridiculous like 35-0 run to make that game look as ugly as it did and get Brian Kelly fired. Arkansas, that was a 45-42 game between them there. So like it's leading me, and like I'm looking at some more. I'm diving into these stat profiles a little bit more. Like A&M's been elite at getting off the field at third down. They're only allowing opponents to convert at 21.7% of the time on third down. But if you do convert on them and you drive the ball down the field, they rank 130th in the FBS in red zone defense, allowing opponents to score on more than 93% of their trips down there. Texas red zone offense only ranks 76, but I think the Texas offense, we talked about this a little bit the other day, that they might have figured some things out against Arkansas, which is a great tune-up opponent, I think, when you're going to play A&M and a few days later. I love the over in this game. I think both quarterbacks are going to get theirs. Give me the over 51.5. That is going to be on my card this weekend. I've already bet that. And you also look to, like, every single road game for A&M this year has just been Point City. You got the Notre Dame game was in the 40s. Right? The LSU game, I think, had close to 70 points. Like, when they travel and leave College Station, the defense, they don't travel as well. So I think we're going to get a lot of points on Friday night.
Yeah, I don't think the Texas defense is going to be able to keep a total lid on this A&M offense, but I do think the Texas's offense will be able to respond in kind. It is a really interesting note on the red zone offense. I think that dovetails nicely with the fact that Texas can't run the ball. Mm-hmm. That's kind of a ridiculous flaw of theirs. There's really no excuse for it. Them in Oklahoma and Alabama, it's like, how do you guys not be able to run the ball? It's embarrassing. But I do think that they have the ability to score from range. And I think also I'd like to see if Texas does get into the red zone and they're kind of being able to take advantage of that bad Texas A&M red zone defense. Jack Endries, I like that tight end a lot. I think that he's a bit of a hooper, and I'd like to see him get a little bit more involved as Texas gets down towards the goal line. So he's a bit of an X factor for me in this one. And then I'm not sure what the special teams all look like, but if you're A&M, you better make sure that Ryan Niblett is accounted for. That dude is beyond fast.
Yeah, he is. He's a lot of fun to watch return punts too. But what are the? I don't know. I'm going back and forth. I love the over. I don't know. It just kind of feels like it's A&M's year. I'm going to lean A&M. Somehow they escape once again here with a win in a absolute shootout. That's going to be a lot of fun Friday night. But how do you feel, and what do the metrics say on this one too?
I like Texas and the over. The 2.5 is not a great number for taking Texas against the spread, so I'd probably just money line that one. But I do like the over as well. SP Plus has this one with the over, with A&M winning 30-25. FEI has this one as a more dominant victory for A&M at 28-14 in favor of the Aggies.
All right. Well, so SP Plus agrees with the over. I mean, FEI's got that coming in way under at just 42 points. It does
Crazy
not. It
under.
must. It hates the Texas offense. It looks like, having them just score 14 points there. Going to be really interesting to see how this one plays out. But yeah, the over. I'll have a little more on that when we do our best bets for Week 14 coming up. But there are so many games around the country, so many incredible matchups that have big-time playoff implications, conference championship implications. Let's try to get through as many of these as we can, kind of do a little bit of a hurry-up offense here. And I think a great spot to start is in the ACC in Pittsburgh, Miami at Pitt. Miami heading north, end of November. Excuse me, John, it sounds like kickoff temp going to be right around 34 degrees. A little bit of wind, not much rain, or no rain actually, no precipitation here for this one, but still going to be interesting to see how Miami handles the cold. Miami's a 6.5-point favorite. I think there's a couple sevens on some books, depending on where you're looking. But like the talking point going into this one, I'm curious how you feel, is that Miami needs to beat Pittsburgh worse than Notre Dame did. And Notre Dame beat them 37-15 a few weeks ago. Like Miami needs to go in there and they need to win this game by at least 3 touchdowns here when it comes to seeding, committee, all that kind of stuff with the playoff. But how do you feel about that narrative going into this game? And do you think that the Canes have a shot to be able to do that?
If that's true, that's, it's almost unfair to Miami. Like, Notre Dame just pasted Pitt. Like, you can't really expect that necessarily and like make that like the line in the sand.
And don't forget, too, Pat Narduzzi said that game did not matter, and this game matters. So you got to throw that in there as well.
But, I think as of like mid-season, really after Pitt went down to Tallahassee and beat Florida State, which I know not like a great win by any stretch, but, like an impressive one for Heinschel in one of his first appearances there. I was like, well, you look at their schedule and you look at how November shapes up. They got Notre Dame, they got Georgia Tech, and they got Miami. And I thought that they could win at least one. They did last week, maybe 2. And I always felt like this was going to be a danger spot for Miami. Now, I will give Miami credit that they've played really well. They've responded really well since that SMU game, I think. Like the offense has been humming. They have had a really soft schedule to do that against. I mean, NC State and Virginia Tech, I think, are both, those are the proverbial tune-up games as well. So there's a little bit of like a holistic view of Miami or a recency view of Miami. Which one do you trust more? I think with this one being at Pittsburgh and also my sort of distrust of Mario Cristobal, I think Pitt does make this one a really close game. I'm not fully calling the Pitt money line here, but I'm more in line with SP Plus here that says that this is a 6-point game as opposed to FEI, which has this one at a 10-point win for Miami.
So I'm really curious, like, which Miami team is going to show up on Saturday? Because this team has been kind of Jekyll and Hyde, especially when they leave Florida, as we saw in that SMU game. But like, Carson Beck is a gigantic question mark. Let's just be honest with ourselves, okay? When Beck turns the ball over, bad things happen, as that is what tends to happen when your quarterback turns the ball over. But Carson Beck has 9 interceptions this season. 6 of them have come in their 2 losses against Louisville and SMU. So you got that factor. He's got to be able to take care of the football. Now, he is going against a defense that should allow him to throw and put up some big yardage. It looks like Miami's getting healthy too. CJ Daniels, I believe, is expected to play on Saturday. Then on the other side, Miami, when they've gotten beat through the air. Whether it's Miller Moss with those quick hits and Jeff Brom in that offense, figuring out that we can just do quick strike, and just keep moving the ball down the field. And yeah, Carson Beck's also coughing it up 4 times. There was that method that beat them, and then Kevin Jennings, who kind of just did everything against them, but he threw for over 360 yards in that game, the Miami SMU game from about a month ago. Can Mason Heinschel have a similar game or somewhere in the middle of Miller Moss and Kevin Jennings and be able to move the ball on this defense? It sounds like Miami's getting healthy. Corey Heatherman's going to have something cooked up for the true freshman, but this does set up nicely for Pitt to hang around here and make this really uncomfortable. And yeah, I mean, it's cliche and a total narrative, but I'm very skeptical to see how Miami's going to do in cold weather on Saturday. Yeah. Like they got to answer that. So let's see how that plays out.
And the Dolphins don't do well in it. The Canes don't do well in it. Like it is a thing. And yeah, on the Beck point is really good in those losses. Like he kind of reminds me of Brock Purdy a little bit, where like if he's off, it really kind of snowballs, and one interception comes after another type of thing. So you worry about that one. I'm not worried about Mason Heinschel in this situation. He's obviously just played 2 really big games and 2 very different outcomes, of course. But last week looked great. They've kind of found their run game as well. They've kind of had to do it without Desmond Reed so much. But this freshman is looking great for Pitt. Having looked at the Pitt team very closely in that game against Notre Dame, how do you think their offensive line stacks up against this Miami, defensive front that we've talked about all season long?
Yeah, that could be a problem. I mean,
Okay.
Ruben Bain is awesome, and it's incredible. They could I do think Corey Heatherman's going to have some sort of wrinkle here for Heinschel in this one. And the more I talk about this game, the more I think I like the under as my favorite play in it. 50.5. I mean, you got the dynamic of Miami going north, and we'll see what that offense looks like in the cold. And then you got Pitt against the Miami defense and what's going to happen there in that defensive line. Like, this game could start slow, and that 50, and like, this game could end up being, 24-21 or something like that. And I could easily see that happen and paint that picture for myself. One area, though, where I do think Miami's going to be able to exploit Pitt is in the red zone. Pittsburgh ranks 124th in the FBS in red zone defense, allowing opponents to score on over 90% of their trips down there. Miami's red zone offense comes in at number 9 in the country, scoring on over 93% of their red zone opportunities. So if Miami gets the ball down there, they're going to be able to punch it in, and that might be the difference in this one. I'm going to ride the fence when it comes to my prediction. I think Pitt covers, but Miami's going to eke out a victory here and finish the regular season at 10-2.
Yep, Miami by a field goal, I think, is where I'm landing on this one.
All right, very good. Let's keep moving. Oregon heads up to Washington. This is going to be a fun one. Always is when these two teams meet out in the Pacific Northwest. Oregon favored by 6.5 or 7 on the road, similar to that Miami spot. A first-round home game is on the line here for Oregon. They win, they're pretty much guaranteed to be in that 5-8 range. I mean, they could even somehow get into the Big Ten championship game for a second straight year, too, if things break correctly for them. Dan Lanning, 1-3 in his career against Washington. He's 45-7 as a head coach. Almost half of his losses have come to the Washington Huskies. Now, I believe all 3 of those did come to Kalen DeBoer when he was on the sideline there in Seattle. Lanning did kind of exercise those demons, if you will, last year when they kind of thumped Washington. I'm trying to, as I look at this one, this is another one, John, where you look at the paper and it's just Oregon should overwhelm Washington in this game. How does it happen for Washington to pull off the upset or even cover in this one? I think, and the only thing I can come up with is that Desmond Williams just has a legacy game, and he's just everywhere. He can do it all with both his arm and his legs. But I don't know, man. Oregon just feels like they're clicking right now. I'm taking Oregon to win and cover in this one.
I like Oregon in this spot as well. I know that going to Washington can be a tricky spot for anybody, Oregon in particular. So, I mean, that's certainly a factor. And it's not to say that Washington isn't really talented. I love Williams. Jonah Coleman's been great. Denzel Boston. They've got some absolute guys on that offense. But Oregon just is really complete. I don't think they lose to teams quite like this. I think that they need to be at a talent disadvantage, and I think there's only a couple of teams that really fit that bill. So I've got Oregon winning this one and covering as well.
Yeah, I'm looking at this too. I have questions if Washington's going to be able to get off the field, right? They're very middle of the pack, 67th when it comes to defensive third down percentage. Oregon is a top 10 unit in the country when it comes to converting third downs. We saw them do that against USC a week ago. They might be getting, this is becoming their running joke, right? Oregon might be getting healthier. They might be getting healthier. But, who on Washington is going to cover Sadiq? After what he just did to USC, I can see him doing that again to the Huskies on Saturday afternoon.
Yes, Sadiq's unbelievable. We'll have to see if DeCorian Moore or Evan Stewart are ready. I mean, we might just have to see them come playoff time. But if they were able to do what they were able to do against USC, I don't see why they wouldn't against Washington necessarily, even with this one being a road game. So I think the Ducks go quacking here.
So if you're looking for fireworks on this Thanksgiving weekend, this rivalry week, look no further than this Vanderbilt-Tennessee game in Knoxville at Neyland. Tennessee favored by 2.5, I think, going into this one. We got a total sitting at 65.5, John, and rightfully so. Okay, you got Diego Pavia leading the 11th ranked passing offense against the 111th ranked passing defense in Tennessee. And then on the other side, you got Joey Aguilar leading the 4th ranked passing offense against the 113th ranked passing defense. Now, we know that Vanderbilt needs style points, right? They need a big-time monster win to keep their playoff hopes alive. It might not even be good enough if Vandy finishes at 10-2. This would also be there's so much on the line here for Vanderbilt. This would give them their first ever 10-win season in program history if they were to win on Saturday. This game is going to be awesome. Diego Pavia is going to have to do everything which he already does for Vanderbilt. Like, against this defense, like, Pavia might have 400 yards in this game. And you could also say the same thing about Joey Aguilar. I'm going to take Vandy. It's a total storybook narrative play, and I also do have a Tennessee under 8.5 win total ticket, so I really want Vanderbilt to win this game for multiple reasons. I like Vandy to go in and cover. It just kind of feels like everything's just come up Diego Pavia like this season. Like, I think he's got a big game. I think this is going to be a fun one to watch on Saturday afternoon.
Yeah, sometimes your head and your heart can tell you two different things. The heart definitely, I think everyone outside of Knoxville and Big Orange Nation is probably pulling for Vanderbilt in this one. But I think that Vanderbilt on balance has been the better team compared to Tennessee this year. I mean, they've both been amazing. They're so explosive on offense. They both do it in different ways. Tennessee spreads you out and they go tempo, over 70 plays per game. Vandy a little bit more methodical with how they do things, 62 plays per game. But I think the important thing that's sort of like further unlocked that this Vanderbilt offense is the emergence of some of those other options outside of Eli Stowers, both Junior Sherrill and Trey Richardson coming off of huge games last week. So that's a lot for this Tennessee defense to contend with, as opposed to like when they were just a little bit more one note, a little bit more over reliant on Stowers. Now they got three guys that can burn you. That's bad for a Tennessee defense that can just kind of burn itself. So I think that this one goes back and forth. I cannot wait to watch this one, but I think that the head and the heart agree that Vanderbilt gets this done. I think SP Plus has Vandy covering but not winning. FEI does have Vandy squeaking this one out and winning.
Yeah, I would just take the 3 points there. There are a couple of threes sitting out there. I would just take Vandy plus 3 and go into this one. I'd feel much more comfortable with that. You can just take the money line if you want to. But yeah, I like Vandy plus 3 as my pick for this one. A little fun note too. This is the first time since 1958 that these two teams will take the field against each other where they both are ranked. So fun one there in the state of Tennessee on Saturday afternoon. John, next game I'm just going to throw right to you. Georgia at Georgia Tech. Technically, this game is being played at Mercedes-Benz, neutral site game. Feels like a name your number spot for the Dogs, right? I looked on DraftKings. I'm curious if you're going to have this on your card later. 37.5 is the team total for Georgia on Saturday. Or Friday, excuse me.
Yeah, like we said on Monday, it's kind of run out for Georgia Tech. I think last week against Pitt was a culmination of a lot of the things that were brewing that were wrong with this Georgia Tech team that got put fully on display on Saturday night. I don't see how this defense stops Georgia's offense the way that Georgia's offense has been rolling the last month or so. Therefore, I expect Georgia to do their part, probably hit that team total. It's going to, just like with almost any week that we've seen Georgia Tech either be an underdog or like a narrow favorite, it's like, well, Haynes King is just going to have to go crazy. And he obviously went crazy against Georgia's defense last year. I don't see it happening that same way again this year. I think that there's a reason why this spread has gone, pretty wild in the favor or in the direction of Georgia.
Yeah, what are we up to, 13 now?
Yeah, I think the Dogs kind of paced them this weekend.
Yeah, I would tend to agree with you. Like, I think the only way this game is close is if Georgia is just shooting themselves in the foot.
Yep.
And just, like, this game being close, I think, would say much more about Georgia and how locked in they were than compared to what Georgia Tech's going to do. Because as you've mentioned, like, the wheels have just come off for Tech down the stretch here.
Yeah, that defense just, it can't really function against an offense that can either gash you with the run or gash you with the pass. So I just, there is like the Georgia Tech in the Haynes King factor, and they're going to be throwing everything at Georgia. I think that there's some neuroticism among Georgia fans that like it's almost like it's worse for Georgia that Tech lost last week, so they're going to be more like just kind of desperate and like crazy to kind of finish their season with a win that they can hang their hat on. But over 60 minutes, I think that Georgia just kind of ends up bullying this Tech team that cannot play defense.
So a few weeks ago, you mentioned that the schedule makers have rudely taking the Egg Bowl away from us on Thanksgiving night. They have pushed it to Friday afternoon. It is a noon Eastern kick. This game is in Starkville this year. Ole Miss, 7.5-point favorite on the road. Both these teams coming in off of a bye in Week 14, which is a little odd, but hey, whatever. It's the Egg Bowl. Let's just get weird. I think the only way that Mississippi State keeps this game close is if Ole Miss is just not focused, and everything that's going around and surrounding Lane Kiffin in this program just kind of infiltrates that locker room. But so far, John, this is the third or fourth game now. We've been doing this for a month with Ole Miss. They know how to handle this, I think, at this point. If the Rebels are locked in here, this game should not be close. Mississippi State is horrible against the run. They are horrendous. They rank 121st in the country when it comes to stopping the run. Lacey and Chambliss could both have monster days here. This is the kind of game that I envision with Ole Miss coming in here with their third-ranked offense in both yards and scoring. Ole Miss might score every single time they touch the ball on Friday if they're locked in. That is a big if. But I do think Lane Kiffin still wants to bring this team to the playoff and all that kind of stuff, even with all the external noise that's going on with him and coaching searches throughout the South.
Yeah, this game, you can do all your research, and it's going to point you very decidedly in the direction of Ole Miss. Mm-hmm. Miss State, they're sort of like the Arkansas. They can score. They cannot play defense. They can kind of put a scare into you. We've seen them do that on multiple occasions this year. But, gosh, you look at the Missouri game from a couple weeks ago where Hardy runs for 300. I think Keelan Lacey could do something similar. I'm not calling the 300 from him, but, he could have a kind of dominant day on the ground for Ole Miss. It's going to be, a danger spot for this Mississippi team. I'm giving a lot of credit to Miss State, despite, the numbers telling me not to do that. But I think we get a really entertaining game. I think that Ole Miss blocks out the noise just enough. I've done my soul searching on this one, even with the 7.5 being out there. It was on my card. I am removing it.
You've taken it off?
I can't do it. I got to just enjoy this game for what it is. Miss State been good against the spread, as you noted, but I don't know. This game, it's too volatile to me. There's too much going on both sides to feel confident about putting it on the old card. But I do think one thing I can say with confidence is this one's going to be a lot of fun.
Oh, it always is. But I guess the only thing that I did want to mention this, right? Are you concerned with Ole Miss, after that, how that Florida game played out? Or do you think they were just playing with their food that Saturday night in Oxford? Because, I still want to say they were just messing around. And I know you never, really just full-on say that about a team, but, it felt like they knew they could beat Florida, with the way how they called that game, how they played that game. I mean, they went for it on 4th and goal multiple times in that one and came up short. That game could have been far uglier if they just got 3 more yards.
Yeah, that was just a very strange game. Again, that was during the Georgia-Texas game, but like I said, we were kind of tuning in. Yeah, it does kind of just raise the question of how focused this Mississippi team is at this point. Did they just want to get to the end of the season here and punch their ticket with the Egg Bowl, everything like that? Possibly. That was a weird game. I'm gonna choose to somewhat ignore it as far as how I'm breaking down this game, but it's at least in the realm of possibility for Ole Miss to it's why are they kind of stuck in second gear?
Yeah, it is. It's curious, and I think they're going to be able to get out of that gear against Mississippi State, because I just want to point this out. Mississippi State against some of the top offenses this season, they allowed Tennessee to score 41. Texas A&M got into the 30s on them. Texas scored 45 on them. Georgia scored 41 on them. Mizzou scored 49 on them. And now they have to play the number 3 ranked offense in both yards and scoring when it comes to Ole Miss. But, John, as you pointed out, Mississippi State, they are 8-3 against the spread this season. They're also 5-1-1 ATS in the last 7 Egg Bowls. I think those trends kind of get bucked here. I like Ole Miss, and I like Ole Miss big on Friday afternoon.
I will end by saying I love this game. The cultural disdain between these two these two fan bases is palpable. they really don't like each other. I think that's beautiful. When I think of this game, I always think of the Elijah Moore scoring the go-ahead touchdown, doing the dog pee celebration, backing Ole Miss back up, missing the extra point, losing the game. That's all time. Like where you put your sheer hatred of the other team in front of the betterment of your own team. Like that's some great stuff. I hope we get something crazy like that again this week.
It is, and I do want to apologize too to the fine people in Starkville for us picking against State, but just with the way these two teams match up, I got to go Ole Miss here. I apologize.
Neither of us are saying it's going to be a blowout. I think both of us are giving.
I'm leaning that way.
State
I'm leaning that way, but yeah.
Well, for Heaven and Polly Pocket and all of our friends over at the Pony, we hope that it ends up being a good one for Miss State. But ultimately, as really serious analysts, I think we're picking Ole Miss here.
So serious. And we have one more serious game to talk about. The Territorial Cup, John, is a ranked matchup. Arizona, hello. Welcome to the playoff committee rankings here, coming in at number 25. They head up to Tempe to take on ASU. Arizona favored by 1.5 or 2 points here on the road. I don't know. Like, basically all I got for this one is I can't trust Jeff Sims. I know there is a world and a path where ASU can find themselves in Dallas next week. They need a lot of other things to happen here. I'm curious, because the only way this Raleek Brown kid for Arizona State just ran for 255 yards against Colorado, and now he gets to face a below-average run defense in Arizona. I feel like he's their only hope. He needs to have a monster day for the Sun Devils here to win this one.
Right, because the strength of this Arizona team is primarily their pass defense. It's really good, but if you're Arizona State and you have Jeff Sims and no Jordan Tyson, you just probably want to keep the ball on the ground. Now, Colorado can give up 200 yards to just about anybody, so I will say that, but that is something that is going to be tested for Arizona here, but I think Arizona's offense is lively. I think it's
Fafita's been awesome down the stretch.
I know. He's just sort of like Big 12 Bryce Young or something.
He's been one of those guys you just totally forgot is still in college because it feels like he's been there forever.
They had so much hype going into last year with it being McMillan's last year and the way that they had finished the 2023 season. You're like, oh wow, Arizona's rolling. They fell flat on their face. It's taken them a while to kind of regain the respect of the committee, but this is a good Arizona team. I think Arizona wins this one.
All right, fair enough. I like that. We'll see if that's on your card here coming up. And you know what? I do want to just give a shout out to our Western Michigan Broncos. This seems to be the only team that we know for certain. We know how to cap Western Michigan games.
Oh, yeah.
I will give us that. We have swung and missed on a lot of picks here throughout this season, but when it comes to our Western Michigan Broncos, we are right on the money. They hit that over on Tuesday night. So, John, we head into rivalry weekend 2-0 once again. So each of the past 2 weeks, we have gone 2-0 in Maction, and we've ended the week 8-8. Let's end a little stronger here, buddy. What do you got? Week 14, rivalry week, best bets. Give us your card for this weekend.
All right, here are my bets for this weekend. Give me Arizona -1.5 against Arizona State. Give me the Houston money line. I don't know why they're getting points against Baylor. +120. I'll take that. Give me East Carolina. Hurts me to do it against my beloved FAU Owls, but -6.5. I think ECU covers that one pretty nicely. Give me Syracuse, Boston College under 53. Yeah. Sorry. Give me Vandy +3. Give me Auburn +5.5. And give me Texas money line. I'm doing it.
Okay. All right. I'm going to start it. You're hooking them. Okay. Very good. I'll start us off on Friday as well. I'm going to go Air Force -2.5, taking on Colorado State. Colorado State's been abysmal. I know Air Force has had some quarterback issues here lately. I do like them, the Falcons, to get the job done and win this game by a field goal. Texas and Texas A&M, as I said, I love the over in this game, going over 51.5. I'm also on Houston this week. I'm going to take the points, though. I'll go +2.5 with the Cougars at Baylor. This Baylor defense, I think, is the worst in college football. They are horrendous.
So bad.
They are absolutely atrocious. We're going to take both schools from the great state of Missouri this weekend. We're going to go Missouri State minus 2.5 against Louisiana Tech. And then we're going to go Mizzou minus 2.5 at Arkansas. Big spot there for Bo Pabula and Eli Drinkowitz to finish this season off with a win. And then we will wrap things up with Central Michigan plus 10.5. And then we got to go Notre Dame Stanford over 50.5. The Irish could very well do the entire thing here by themselves, but we'll go over 50.5 in that game. 10:30 kickoff in Stanford on Saturday night.
They might have to cover that by themselves, but I think that's very possible.
It absolutely is. I'm going with like a 45-7 final there for the Irish. Jeremiah Love probably only plays like the first quarter once again.
We watching the whole game there, Waddy? Or you might call it.
Hopefully not. Hopefully not. Hopefully I can go to bed at the end of the first quarter and watch the highlights on Sunday morning after a long weekend of just gluttony and stuffing my face and in a full-on turkey coma for 48 hours.
That's right.
But yeah, so just an absolute glorious weekend we have in front of us, guys. I mean, I can't believe the end of the regular season is already here. We got conference championship games coming up next week. We will break those down. We will react to it all on Monday when we talk to you guys and kind of tie a little bow on the regular season before we start looking ahead to those championship games. John, what a fun season it's been, man. Happy Thanksgiving. Happy Rivalry Week. Hope you have a great weekend enjoying all of the football there. That there is to watch.
Happy Thanksgiving to you as well, my friend. It's been a tremendous season, but we're far from done. We're going to keep this thing rocking. So, don't forget about us. We got a lot of great stuff here going forward. But, yes, enjoy your rivalry weeks. Happy Thanksgiving to all of our wonderful listeners and some of our TikTok commenters.
Yes, some of them. Very good. No, just kidding. Happy Thanksgiving to all you guys.
Hit
that subscribe button. You can say whatever you want to us in the comments. Just hit that follow or subscribe button.
I know. If you're going to fight in the comments, at least give us a follow.
That's all we ask. That's all we ask. You can hate follow. We know you want to because some of you do bookmark and come back. But anyways, hit that subscribe button. We'll talk to you guys on Monday. Happy Thanksgiving. This is College Football Tailgate.